Welcome back, everyone. Okay, let's dive right into things because today's explainer is an absolutely fascinating one. Imagine living in a world completely ruled by magic, a place where your sheer worth, your right to even exist, is strictly determined by the spells you can cast. Now imagine being Will Serfort. He's a boy with absolutely zero mana, literally none. He is a total anomaly, treated as a hopeless outcast in this society of elite, highly trained spellcasters. But here's the kicker, and honestly the ultimate mystery we're unpacking today. The very sky above this magical world is completely fake. Yeah, you heard me right. Will's journey isn't just about proving his worth with a sword. It's deeply tied to a massive, centuries-old apocalyptic conspiracy that actually threatens the survival of humanity itself.
So here's our agenda for today's explainer. We're going to start with Section 1, the False Sky Barrier. Then we'll look at 2, the Magicless Warrior Outcast, followed by 3, Mechanics of Priming Magic. From there, we'll trace how Will turns 4, rivals turn trusted allies, watch him in Section 5, unlocking the emotional limiters, and finally, we'll uncover 6, Queen Mercedes' Dark Legacy. All right, let's get started.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the False Sky Barrier.
To really understand Will's world, we first have to talk about the tragic reality of Wistoria itself. See, Will and his childhood friend Elfie made a promise to ascend the massive Regarden Tower together just so they could see a true sunset. Why? Because the beautiful sky the rest of the world looks up at every single day, it's a complete lie. It's an illusion masking a terrifying truth. Exactly 500 years ago, Wistoria faced an absolute nightmare. Monstrous, godlike invaders from above, known as the Celestial Host, descended and nearly wiped humanity off the map. The desperation here was just unreal. The dwarf and elf kingdoms were practically decimated. So to stop these monsters from plunging the world into endless bloody darkness, the magic Queen Mercedes and 5 incredibly strong mages sacrificed almost everything to create a massive false sky barrier over the Sorcerer's Tower. Those 5 legendary mages became the very first Magia Vandar. Fast forward to the present day, and that barrier is constantly degrading. It desperately needs maintenance. And that is exactly why the Regarden Magical Academy exists. To train mages strong enough to climb the tower, hold the title of Magia Vandar, and quite literally keep the sky from falling.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Magicless Warrior Outcast. Shifting our focus over to the Academy, we really start to see the massive, unforgiving societal gap between Will and Elfie. In Wistoria, mages with mana are called wands, while those who rely on physical prowess are completely dismissed as swords. The contrast is wild. Take Elfie, for example. She's a literal wand prodigy who is inventing brand new, highly complex ice spells at just 2 years old. By the time they entered the Academy, she instantly skyrocketed to the very top of the tower, becoming the youngest Magia Vandar in history. But here's the crucial dynamic. Will and Elfie constantly influence each other's growth. Will's absolute determination to reach the top isn't for glory, It's fueled entirely by that childhood promise to Elfie. As the ultimate sword, Will has 0 mana, so he's left to grind at rock bottom, surviving brutal, near-lethal dungeon dives using nothing but physical grit, immense speed, and a masterful scholarly understanding of monster anatomy. Almost everyone sees him as dead weight, but he absolutely refuses to give up on her.
Which brings us to Section 3, Mechanics of Priming Magic.
Because, of course, things are never quite that simple. There is a huge plot twist regarding Will's so-called lack of magic that changes everything. Turns out, Will isn't actually magicless. His body is just a profound anomaly. Step 1 of how this works, his body hoards magic incredibly deep within his core, making it completely impossible to release normally, like a wand would. Step 2, to actually use magic, he has to act as a conduit, absorbing external spells directly through his sword right in the heat of battle. And Step 3, he integrates that absorbed ability into himself permanently. This is known as whists or priming, but this is where his fighting style really shines. This integration isn't just some neat magic trick. To execute the absorbed magic without his own body tearing apart from the strain, Will has to rely on his sheer physical strength and masterful swordplay. We actually first see this raw combination during a childhood beast attack. A crystalline wolf, made specifically to kill mages, attacked them. Young Will absorbed Elfie's desperate ice spell with a broken sword, unlocking Ice Whisk and totally obliterating the beast through a perfect blend of magic and martial skill.
Now let's look at Section 4, Rivals turned Trusted Allies.
Because his body was way too weak to handle it back then, Will actually completely forgot about that childhood event. He spent the next decade just honing his raw swordsmanship, which leads directly into his brutal final year at the Academy. It's fascinating to watch his evolution through his interactions with the Academy's elites. Take his biggest bully, Cyan, who summoned an advanced Flame Guardian specifically to humiliate him. Well, Will completely understood Cyan's hidden insecurities, accepted him as a true rival, and fundamentally earned his respect on the battlefield. Then there's Julius, an arrogant ice prodigy, using Elfie's own advanced clone spells. Will casually beats him by just applying his childhood experience of being tackled by a hyperactive 2-year-old Elfie. We even have Professor Edward, who trapped Will in total darkness to forcefully fail him, only to be completely stunned when Will used his raw battle instincts and 0-mana stealth to strike his blind spot. But the most intense growth? That comes later at the tower, with Magia Vanderzio, who relentlessly beats Will in brutal daily sparring matches. These intense sessions force Will to dramatically evolve his physical limits and tactical mind in real time. Through blood and sheer grit, Will slowly turns every single one of his harshest critics into vital, trusted battle allies.
And all of this beautifully sets up a profound realization from his loyal friend Colette during a disastrous, life-threatening fight against a high-level Grand Duke monster. Elfie's magical goggles break, and Will's spirit just utterly shatters. But it's his friends who push him forward. Colette realizes that Will is terrified all the time. He doesn't have any natural defenses, but his unyielding drive to protect the people he loves? That fuels a massive, latent power inside him. As she perfectly puts it, his magic is courage. And it's that exact courage that allowed him to step right into the Inferno, absorb Cyan's fire, prime his sword, and unleash Ignis Whis with enough devastating force to burn that Grand Duke to an absolute crisp.
Which leads perfectly into Section 5, Unlocking the Emotional Limiters.
As Will grows, the threats in Atoria only escalate. The Terminalia Festival, which is this beautiful New Year's event where the Magia Vander reinforce the Sky Barrier, naturally becomes the perfect target for the evil Gothia cult. During their massive invasion, the cult unleashes this terrifying, towering monster called a Deander. It just slaughters its way through the city streets with horrifying ease. The destruction is absolute. And to make matters worse, Will watches his roommate Rosti get completely destroyed right in front of him. Side note, wild detail here, Rosti was actually a magical puppet being remote piloted by Elfie all the way from the top of the tower. Seeing this, Will's spirit is entirely broken. His body gives out. But then, an incredibly powerful dungeon explorer named Finn arrives. Finn offers his own blood to Will's sword and delivers this game-changing quote: "Those who cannot change themselves will never have any hope of changing the world." Finn explains the real truth of priming magic. Will's power is fundamentally fueled by his willpower, by the emotional state of his heart. That blood offering, combined with realizing his own emotional limiters, completely shatters the invisible walls that were holding Will back.
With his limiters totally off, Will's arsenal absolutely explodes. We get to see exactly how terrifying a master of the sword can be when combined with elemental magic. He's got the Ignis Whis fire slash burning with explosive heat. Then, with Elfie shooting a massive ice spell down from the tower to help him out, he creates Albus Whis, a freezing blade that cuts directly through the Deander's anti-magic defenses for the killing blow. Later on, Headmistress Cauldron teaches him Prime Pathos. This is an emotional mechanic that lets him pull magic directly from the intense feelings of his own memories, completely skipping the need for an external spell to absorb. And through that brutal, relentless training with Zoe we talked about earlier, he masters Tactical Reload. This lets Will instantly cycle through ice, fire, lightning, and earth mid-combat, adapting to literally any enemy's weakness in a fraction of a second. Combining the wand and sword makes him a brilliantly tactical, unstoppable force. Finally, we reach Section 6, Queen Mercedes' Dark Legacy. This all brings us to the top of the tower. As Will ascends, the true apocalyptic objective of the Gothia cult is finally revealed. They want to free an immortal demon king named Baal, who is sealed at the highest peak of the tower, literally acting as the conduit holding up the false sky. And when Finn pulls back the curtain, the truth changes absolutely everything. We learn that Will isn't just some magicless boy who worked really hard. No. 500 years ago, Queen Mercedes and the original Magia Vander realized a terrifying truth. The Demon King Baal was truly immortal. A pure wand couldn't kill it. A pure sword couldn't kill it. So they engineered a dark legacy. They manipulated a bloodline over centuries to perfectly combine both. Will Serfort is humanity's ultimate weapon. He is the indestructible Whis, a 500-year-old biological weapon designed specifically from the moment he was born to destroy Baal and take back the true sky.
And hey, if you think that's just a metaphorical or symbolic title, think again. During a brutal, super high-stakes battle with a cultist named Shade, Shade attempts to completely possess Will's mind. But as Shade digs deep into Will's consciousness, Queen Mercedes herself temporarily hijacks Will's mind from within.
Through Will's physical body, she casually traps Shade with towering swords of blinding light, simply utters the words, "Be gone," and literally shoots the invader out of his mind. Then she unleashes a cataclysmic attack that splits the very horizon. Will is quite literally a walking, breeding vessel for the 500-year-old queen.
Which leaves us with this final, chilling thought. After an incredible, brutal journey of grinding from the absolute rock bottom of society, Will has finally reached the top of the tower. He's reunited with Elfie and proven himself as her equal, a legendary warrior in his own right. But knowing that he is a bioengineered weapon with the spirit of a 500-year-old queen actively residing inside his mind, is Will really fighting for his own future and his own dreams? Or is his entire life, his unyielding courage, and his hard-earned strength just a predetermined destiny playing out perfectly to fulfill Mercedes' ancient prophecy? It is such a fascinating question to ponder. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time as we continue to break down the most captivating stories out there.